Hello, you guys. So I just finished watching the video called "What Are We Doing to White People?" Has like 3.5 million views or something, and I have thoughts. So I apologize to those of you guys who already follow my channel. So because some of this might be repetitive to you, but I wanted to kind of put a little context before I start ranting and raving as I usually do. And I am a gay, clearly white male. Uh, Cis, even though I hate that term. And I'm getting up there in age now. And I do remember having instances of people making homophobic comments, living in a time where in the Western world, gay people still didn't have the right to vote or to adopt, where there was no official law saying that you can't discriminate against people that are gay in the workplace. So, and for the vast majority of my life, I identified with the left. I identified as a liberal. In fact, if you go back in my channel, probably 8 or 9 years, you would find videos of me where I say things oh, I hate all white people are horrible, or stupid white people, or um, I probably mentioned that I'm generally not attracted sexually to white people. And I have to admit, back when I made those kind of videos, part of it was obviously humor and sarcasm, but another part of me was that I did feel saying these things meant I was one of the good white people, right? I was one of the woke, enlightened white people because I admitted how horrible we all are and how shit my race is and how we're all oppressors and everything. Then around 2015, of course, for those of you guys who follow my channel, you know that I had a very big political awakening. I started really questioning a lot of the things that came from the left in terms of, especially when the huge trans push started, when the made up pronouns started, when I really started seeing visceral anti white rhetoric being allowed and pushed in regular day-to-day spaces, not just the apps, but people even just saying it in public discourse, uh, then being pushed even more, you know, conservative over the passing years, because more and more I feel like, and generally say something um, like the snow is falling from your eyes. For the first time you can actually open your eyes. And I always tell people, like, I went from being woke to actually being awake and actually seeing what is really happening in society and in reality. And so I was watching his video, and he makes a lot of talking points, and he gives very good examples. Like, if people are saying this is not really happening, he then adds a bunch of TikTok videos and all this kind of stuff that I could probably do too if I was better at editing, where he shows people very blatantly coming out and saying very anti-white rhetoric, which, I'm sorry, in this day and age, you would not be allowed to make a video where you generalize all black people, all Asian people, all Hispanic people, all Native Americans, saying that the whole group of them is terrible and that the whole group of them doesn't have a heart, the whole group of them is just evil. It would just not be acceptable. And now people actually feeling very comfortable in saying this. And I kind of want to, I've said this on my channel a lot of times already, where it's like the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I I remember when I used to say things like that on my channel. To me, it felt like I had to say these things as a form of equalizing the things that have been done wrong. And there has been a lot of things done wrong. I think you'd have to be absolutely crazy as a white person to say that white people didn't do horrible atrocities in the past towards Africans, towards Native Americans, if you happen to be American, towards Jewish people, if you happen to be German, like myself. You know, these things, of course, happen. You know, of course, if we look into the past, straight people have done horrible atrocities towards gay people. And depending on where you are in the world, they're still happening. And men have done horrible atrocities towards women. And depending on where you are in the world, these things are still happening. And I think it's important to acknowledge these things. But what I used to think in the past was that I had to pull down my own to uplift the other. And this is one of the big things where I feel I've really changed in my thinking. I don't have to go around wearing a hair shirt and masticating myself to people of color because I just happen to have been born white. I don't carry the sins of my ancestors. I don't even carry the sins of my sister or my mother or my father. I don't carry the sins of anyone but myself. I am only responsible for the actions that I carry in life. I don't owe anybody restitutions. I don't owe anybody a better chance at getting into university or to get a job. I don't owe any of those things. And I, for myself, am tired of walking around thinking that I need to apologize or put myself as lesser because of things that have happened in the past. That is not the way it's ever worked in anything. That's also not the way our legal system works. My father could have been a horrible racist going around killing 20 black people, but that doesn't mean I have to go to jail. And it doesn't mean that that's my fault. It doesn't mean that I have to repent or anything, even for somebody who's my father. But now we're living in a time where it's like we're saying all white people have to repent and feel shame and carry burden for things that happened 50, 60, 100, 200 years ago that we currently can't control. And there's this weird thing now. I feel like I'm going to say the majority, so I'm kind of going to lump white people, straight people, cis people, which is a term I hate. I'm going to men, whatever, as far as men are a majority, lump them over here and then lump the other group, whatever's left, the other side, on the other side. And I feel like we've kind of now created this cycle where if you're white, or if you're a man, or if you're straight, everything that you do in life, and this is something that the Asian guy in the video talked about too, everything that you do in life somehow is related to your whiteness or your maleness. If you got into college, it's because you're white. If you got into college, it's because you're a man. If you got into college, it's because you're cis. Because somehow, somebody somewhere decided that if you're white, you can't possibly actually have anything going for you. You couldn't possibly actually be hardworking or intelligent or the right person for the job or the smarter one to get into the school or the one who deserves the promotion. It's just literally not possible. Everything that happens in your life that is working well for you is due to the fact that you're white and you live in a white supremacy environment and you experience white privilege, and that is the rhetoric. And the same thing is if you're a man, then it's obviously the only reason you got it is because you're a man, because we live in a patriarchy. Men clearly couldn't possibly be smart or gifted or hardworking or like they just don't have the. Everybody knows nowadays that it's just literally not possible because so. If you achieve anything and you're part of this majority group now, everything is related to all of these supposedly structures that just benefit you for everything. Because in reality, if you're white, you're a loser. If you're a man, you're a loser. If you're cis, you're a loser. If you're straight, you're a loser. Everybody knows you're a loser. You can't do anything, right? Which in and of itself is a very harmful mindset to be in. And one that I think a lot of white people, a lot of men, are now already being kind of told to circulate in, including myself. That's one of the reasons I felt the need to constantly say things like, oh, white people are shit, white people are terrible. On the other hand, we're taking all of the minority groups and we're telling them that everything in life that goes wrong for them is also due, but in opposite, right? If you're black and you don't get into a school, it's only because of the white supremacy. If you're a woman and you didn't get the promotion, it's only because of the patriarchy. If you're gay and, I don't know, you didn't get picked prom king, it's only because of homophobia. Because if you're black, clearly you're the smartest person in the room. If you're a woman, you're clearly the most qualified person for every position in the job. I mean, if you're black and you studied history, of course you should be a neurosurgeon because you're black. And the only reason you can't do it is because of white supremacy. If you're a woman, you should, of course, be the CEO, even though you've only just graduated from college. And if you're not, it's because of the glass ceiling. So we've kind of created this dynamic of thinking where people who are in the majority are basically told that they should be ashamed of anything they ever achieve because none of it is actually due to themselves. And we're giving all minorities this idea that they deserve everything, and if they don't get it, they're only not getting it because of some kind of discrimination. Do this a story. Earlier this week, I was hanging out with my friend Laura, who I went to university with, and her and I see eye to eye with a lot of things. And she works for Daimler here in Germany, which is a very good company to work for if you're in Germany. And she was telling me how literally like 2 weeks ago, she was in a board meeting. This is a very highly accomplished, incredibly intelligent woman. I have so much respect for her. And she happens to be one of the rare women who actually enjoy engineering and cars, and that's fine. And as such, through her hard work, her tenacity, her good grades, her intelligence, she worked herself up in a very good position in Daimler. So they were having a board meeting, and she told me in that board meeting there was only 2 other women beside her. And her manager came in and said that due to a law that's now being passed in Germany, they need to make a higher quota for women. More women need to be hired into this company. And that the hiring staff will even get incentivized by monetary bonuses for hiring women over men. Now, some of you out there, you might be like, good. But what is the message here? Are women dumber than men? I'm asking, truly, I'm asking. I don't think so. I don't think a woman is dumber than a man. But isn't that what we're basically saying? We're basically saying women aren't smart enough to do this job. So we need to give them quotas. We need to give them affirmative action. And this is something we're seeing with a lot of minorities now. If it's black people, if it's gay people, if it's trans people, whatever it is, everywhere we're looking now, we're seeing quotas. We're seeing a requirement. You have to get extra points on your college application, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I was speaking with my friend Laura, and I was sitting there like, it's so weird that, and she was saying how she personally found it really offensive because she did it on her own merit. She got to that position on her own merit. And she's like, and now I'm sitting in this boardroom and I'm basically being told by the manager, women are kind of dumb, so we're just going to start hiring more of them via these quotas, you know. And she was telling me how she actually felt embarrassed, and she made eye contact with the other women in the room because and they all felt embarrassed because they knew that they got there on their own hard work and merit. And I told her, it's so weird you say this to me because that's exactly how I always felt as a gay person. I don't want to be someone's friend. I don't want to be someone's gay friend. I don't want to be the person in the company that was hired because I happen to be gay. I don't want to be the kind of person who gets to speak more at a meeting because I'm gay. To me, that is insulting. To me, that is degrading. Because I know that I'm just as smart, and I'm just as capable, and I'm just as strong-willed as anybody else. And I don't need those points. I don't want those points. I'm going to beat these people at their own game. I'm going to come in and be like, I'm the best person for this role. And I'm going to win fair and square. And when I don't win, and there's been a lot of times in my life when I haven't won, I then don't play the gay card. I don't say, oh, I wasn't hired because I'm gay. Oh, the guy at the cafe didn't like me because I was gay. Oh, whatever, they didn't do it right because I was gay. And everybody's clearly homophobic. Then I say, oh, then there must have been somebody who was more qualified. Oh, maybe the barista was having a bad day, and that's why they gave me an attitude. Oh, maybe this person just didn't enjoy my character, and that's why they don't want to be around me. I find it so... I think one of the things that I feel the most upset about with this anti-white, anti-men, anti-straight people, anti-cis people rhetoric that is so pervasive in our society now, especially coming from the left, is that I'm actually offended on an intellectual level, because I think it is so intellectually lazy. It is so intellectually lazy to place yourself always as the victim, to take every situation and put it in such a way to say everything that has happened to me and is happening to me that is bad, because all the good things are, of course, if I do win, it's because, I'm this amazing gay person, or, Black excellence, or more women in power, blah, 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 blah. All the good things are always just because of my hard work. But all the bad things, they're always external. To me, that is very intellectually lazy, and I think it's very childish. We need to be able to accept the fact that there's very qualified heterosexual white men, and they deserve jobs, and they deserve recognition just like everybody else. And there's very unqualified Black women, and there's very unqualified gay men, and there's very unqualified Hispanic men. And we are living in such a bizarro world where literally everything that was demonstrated for when it comes to Black pride, to women's pride, to gay pride, to all of these movements, all the way up until the 90s, that were all about, we want to get equality, now having shifted to this whole concept of equity and victimhood. And the best way to achieve those things is to now create these are the bad guys. These are the bad guys that are keeping us from doing it. Nothing is my fault. Nothing is within my community. Heaven forbid you just didn't study enough. Heaven forbid you just weren't qualified for the job. Heaven forbid you just weren't the fastest swimmer, and so you couldn't get the medal, right? So speaking of Leah Thomas, I couldn't be the fastest swimmer in men's, so now I decided I'm going to pretend to be a woman so I can win. And all of this thinking, to me, is incredibly backwards. And more importantly, I think this thinking is incredibly, incredibly spiteful. And more so than anything, that is something that I don't want to partake in. Yes, I have had instances where I've had people be homophobic towards me. Real ones. Yes, I have been alive in a time when I wasn't legally allowed to get married. There's a lot of parts of the world where I'm still not legally allowed to get married. But knowing what it feels like to be oppressed, to have people be bigoted towards me, and how horrible that feels, for me, that has caused two things to go on in my mind. Number one, like I said, I will show them. I will beat them at their own game. You're telling me all gay people are shallow and tacky and nasty? Well, guess what? I'm going to act right. I'm going to speak right. I'm going to work harder. I'm going to have more things to say. I'm going to be better educated. I'm going to be more considerate. I'm going to be even more willing to listen to the talking points of other people to show them that, look, this is what a gay person is. Not that thing that you think it is. This. That's part one. Part two is, if I as a minority know what it is like to be discriminated against, then I'm not going to turn around and do that to somebody else. And this is something where I really have to call out other people who belong to minority groups. If you're black, if you're gay, a lesbian, if you're in a wheelchair, if you are Hispanic, Native American, Middle Eastern, Muslim, whatever it happens to be, shame on you. Shame on you if you know what it is like to be discriminated against and then to turn around and do the same thing. Shame on you. Because all you're doing is you're showing that you don't have any more growth or any more character or any more personality or any more morals than all of these evil straight white men who have supposedly caused all the problems in the world. What you are doing is you're showing actually the exact opposite. You're showing that gay people are just as petty as straight people, and black people are just as petty as white people, and cis people are just as petty as trans people, and Muslims are just as petty as Catholics, etc., etc., etc. All you're doing is you're showing that if the tables were reversed, and this is something the Asian guy said as well, the same thing would have occurred. If Africa would have industrialized first, not one part of me, not one iota of me for 1 second doubts that they would have gone around and conquered the world, that they would have enslaved white people, that they would have enslaved Hispanic people, that they would have killed off the Native Americans. If the Native Americans would have been the first to industrialize, they would have gone around and enslaved white people and black people. And it's proof. The proof is in the pudding. The fact that we are now seeing how many people who belong to all of these minority groups openly saying things like all white people should get killed, or all men are evil, and down with all men. And, you are showing your true colors. You are showing that you are no better in any way, shape, or form, or any more sophisticated than anybody else. And I find that so sad, and I find that so shameful. Yeah, I don't know how else to say it. And I like, this is one of the reasons I said, like, it's pushed me more and more away from the left, because I don't want to be part of that rhetoric. No straight person. I don't blame all of straight society for the actions of some homophobic few. If somebody does something homophobic towards me, I blame them. That's it. Them. They did it. Not their father, not their cousins, not the whole race, not their religion, not their gender. They did it. And I can't ask for restitutions or equality points or extra chances of getting hired because this person right there did something homophobic. That is not the way our society works. And especially, like I said, if you are somebody who has been the recipient of something like that, to turn around and repay it with evil and anger and maliciousness, to me, is really shameful and disgusting. Do better. This is something we always hear from the left. But no, you guys need to do better. Do better.